everybody. Peter Greenberg here on this Friday at noon Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, also 10 a.m. Arizona time with our weekly global travel update. The reason why we're doing it this Friday was because 2 days ago I was in the jungles of Uganda, finishing our Hidden Uganda special for public television, and then about a 31-hour flight later landed right here in Phoenix. Why am I in Phoenix? First of all, I was staying at the Biltmore. Why wouldn't you want to stay at the Biltmore? The other reason is because this weekend I'm speaking at the big Travel and Adventure Show at the Phoenix Convention Center, both tomorrow and Sunday. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Of course, you can always reach me with your comments, as you always do. So send them in while we talk today about all the stuff that's going on in the news. The investigation continuing into Boeing and also Airbus, believe it or not. Looking at the safety culture on the assembly lines at both companies from two different agencies, of course, the French Aviation Agency in Paris and the FAA here in the U.S. We're still waiting for Congress to authorize the funds necessary to hire the right kind of inspectors and train them to do the work the FAA is supposed to be doing all along. However, those planes that are flying now, they're all back in the air. Those Boeing 737 MAX 9s, they have been fully inspected and they're flying. So shouldn't be a problem right now in the short term. In the long term, the problems still exist. I've been talking about that every single week. I was actually talking about it way before January 5th when that door blew out on the Alaska Airlines plane going out of Portland. And of course, we all know what happened there. Those people were very, very lucky. Again, the NTSB investigation is continuing. They're investigating this as an accident, not an incident, which gives it the weight it deserves. And remember, they've been able to rule out some stuff that should make you feel pretty good. They've ruled out materials. They've ruled out structure. They've ruled out design as having any probable cause in what happened on that plane or any of the other planes that it could have happened to. What have they ruled in? Manufacturing, installation, oversight, and inspection. That's what needs to be addressed across the board. And by the way, what are they doing now? They're not just looking at the assembly lines of the Boeing 737 MAX 9. They're looking at the assembly lines of the 777 and the 787 to see if the safety culture problems crossed all those assembly lines. And you know what? There's a high likelihood that it did. So stay tuned as we continue to talk about that. Some good news about airfares and new routes. There's an airline out there called Breeze, run by David Neilman, who's had a great track record. He was the guy who started JetBlue. And he was the guy who then went down to South America and did Azul. He then helped to turn around TAP, Air Portugal, and now for the last couple of years, he's been running Breeze. And what's interesting about Breeze is the cities that he chooses to fly between, right? These are cities that don't have hubs necessarily. They're not major locations of other competing airlines. And guess what? He's doing nonstop flights from Providence to LAX because he's got the equipment to do it. He's now just announced a summer service between Madison, Wisconsin and LAX, which of course is near and dear to me. Love that idea. But here's the best thing. The airfares that he's doing are starting at $39. It's sort of like the old Southwest effect. When Southwest moves into a market, average airfares go down. The actual cost of these airfares go down. Same thing's happening now with Breeze on those routes. But many of those routes that he's flying, he doesn't have any competition. What he's doing is he's avoiding stopping in those hubs that gives you an increased chance of a cancellation, a delay, or obviously a longer flight to begin with, right? If I can fly between two cities nonstop versus going through a hub, I'll pick the nonstop every day of the week for all the obvious reasons. And by the way, you should too. A couple of things that happened in the news this week and last week. One, let's and by the way, they've done this for a couple of years now, but I was remiss in not talking about it last week, but I got to talk about it now. The folks at the Bronx Zoo, they had a program last week that, before I even tell you about the Bronx Zoo, there's a museum in Eastern Europe, and they have another museum just like it in New York. It's called the Museum of Failed Relationships. I mean, can you believe that, right? That's a great first night date, Well, along those same lines, what do the Bronx Zoo folks do every Valentine's Day? They allow you, stand in line, get ready. There it is. They'll let you name a giant roach after your ex. Do they have enough roaches for me? Probably not if it's just ex-girlfriends, but if it's ex-wives, I'm not in the running. I'm a happily married guy. First marriage and last marriage, I'm one and done. But at least if somebody's got a little revenge there, they just want to act out on it and support a good cause, they'll do it again next year at the Bronx Zoo. Name a roach after your ex. But be sure to take a picture and then send it to your ex. That's how you do it. Okay. Now, speaking of fun things at zoos, at a wildlife park in Lincolnshire in England, this is a funny one. And Anthony, don't show the picture yet. I got to tell the story first. You know, there was an old vaudeville act. Buddy Hackett used to tell this story. And that Buddy Hackett always had to follow these like singing cockatoos, right? And he was like getting sick and tired of this. It was a terrible act. It was boring, and it didn't help him out. So every night before the show, and parrots are known, or cockatoos are known, to like mimic sounds and mimic words. He'd stick his head into their dressing room when the owner wasn't there and say, blank you, blank you, blank you. And these birds go, And he'd do this for like a week. And then on the seventh night of the show, there the birds are on stage performing. They're supposed to sing a song. And then out of nowhere, one of the birds goes, blank you. And then all 9 of them start singing it. And that was the end of the bird act. Well, guess what happened in Lincolnshire in the UK? It was with parrots. Now you can run the picture, Anthony. There it is. 5 parrots were separated at the zoo because they were swearing at visitors and then laughing with each other. Now, that's the kind of zoo I want to go to. Now, I don't know if Don Rickles had been there earlier, but somebody taught him how to do it. I love that story. It sort of made my day. Don't ask me why. It just did. Love it. So that's the story there. All right, let's move on. State Department advisories now, not just for the Bahamas and Jamaica, but for parts of South Africa as well. Would that stop me from going? It would not. You know my feelings on that. The State Department advisories have 4 different levels. Level 1 means travel with normal caution. I still don't know what that means. Level 2, travel with increased caution. That's where the Bahamas is right now. Level 3 is reconsider travel. That's where Jamaica is right now. And level 4 says do not travel. Now, I got to put this in perspective and give you some context. These are not laws. They're not regulations. They're not rules. And in fact, they're advisories. But when people hear the word State Department advisory, it's got such a negative connotation, they run for the hills. You don't have to run for the hills. Do your homework. Are there neighborhoods and parishes in Jamaica you shouldn't go to? Absolutely. Does that mean you shouldn't go to Jamaica? Absolutely not. Same thing in the Bahamas. It's about situational awareness and common sense. Now, there are a couple of destinations that I would tell you not to go to, right? And they're the obvious, usual suspects, right? Yemen, Syria, Ukraine, parts of Somalia. I'm running out. Maybe even Camden, New Jersey, but that's another story. Bottom line is, we have 196 countries in the world, and every one of them has a State Department advisory attached to it, because that's what the Trump administration State Department decided to do when they revamped the State Department advisories. So everybody's got one. It's either level 1, 2, 3, or 4, and most of them, it's a level 1. Even if it's a level 2 or 3, like we have either in the Bahamas or Jamaica, do yourself a favor. Go online to the British Foreign Office, see what they're advising their citizens. Go online and read the last 2 weeks of the English language newspaper published in that destination, and you'll be able to make an informed decision. All right, so that's the State Department story for today. And I'm not changing my opinion, by the way. And if I have to tell you a specific place not to go, I will. But right now, the Bahamas, Jamaica, and South Africa, not on my list. And I'm not being cavalier and stupid. I'm being pragmatic. And I want you to do the same. Okay, so that's a travel warning. And let's go down the list here and see what everybody's written in. Jim and Harriet always coming in and saying, oh, it's just Harriet. Oh, no, there's Harriet and Jim. Michelle B. saying hi. We've got, hello from Uganda. I was just there in Kampala. Had a great time. There's a reason why Winston Churchill called it the Pearl of Africa. He wasn't kidding. There it is on the equator. You've got Lake Victoria. It's the source of the Nile. People don't realize the Nile starts in Uganda and is one of the only rivers I know of that flows north. It ends in the Red Sea in the Mediterranean. It ends in the Mediterranean. It's amazing. Class 6 rapids there, by the way, if you're totally suicidal. I did a couple of class 4 rapids and I survived because I'm here today. What an amazing experience. And of course, they've got the mountain gorillas. It's a trek, that's why they call it trekking, but it's worth it. A great destination. We were there working on my public television special called Hidden Uganda, which will be out either later this year or early next year. Another one of our specials called Hidden Belize, that'll be out this year. And of course, season 9 of Travel Detective premieres in April. So we got a lot of stuff coming out, and I hope you get a chance to see it. Let's say hi to Patty. She says, many trips to the Arizona Biltmore with the iconic Wright architecture. That's right. Frank Lloyd Wright, this hotel was built in 1929. It's exquisite. It's not overbearing. There's nothing higher than 3 stories. It's spread out over so many acres. I started coming to this hotel. Okay, here's where I get a chance to date myself. I started coming to this hotel in 1971 when I was working for Newsweek. I fell in love with it then. I'm still in love with it today. It's just great. And call me a contrarian, I don't mind coming here in July and August when it's outrageously hot, because the way Frank Lloyd Wright designed the hotel, it flows, and the wind comes through it here in the Sonoran Desert, and it works. Now, I'm not a golfer, but if you are a golfer, you'll finish your game by 9 in the morning or go out at 5 in the afternoon. It stays light till 8:30. So anything you want to do, you can do here. I love it. Melanie says, as a huge Frank Lloyd Wright fan, I love staying at the Arizona Biltmore in Phoenix. The behind-the-scenes historical tour was great and gives the history of the hotel. By the way, this was where the stars came to play. The Marilyn Monroes, the Frank Sinatras, they were all here. And how did they get here in those days? By train. Those are the days. All right. Colleen says hi from Sacramento. Condolences to the family of Alexei Navalny. Yes, we saw that story that broke very, very early this morning, who died in prison under mysterious circumstances. We may never know how, but it's been confirmed. And we'll know more about that hopefully in the days and weeks ahead. Not a good story. Terry says, greetings from Madison. Leaving tomorrow for a 5-night stay at the Cancun Waldorf Astoria. Anything you'd recommend besides eating, relaxing, and drinking? You got all 3. It's a trifecta. What about Oaxaca? Definitely Oaxaca. One of the great culinary experiences of the world is Oaxaca, right? Repeat after me, mole. You'll know what I mean when you get there. And by the way, talking about that, I mentioned Breeze Airlines, right? All these new fares at $39. They're actually flying right now, or they've announced a new route from Madison, Wisconsin to Los Angeles, nonstop. How long has that flight been needed? A long time. All right. Hi from Sandals in Grenada. Okay, hello, Sue. Loretta's saying hello from Chesapeake, Virginia. Loretta's saying hi from Lansing, Michigan. Go Spartans. Not. I'm a Badger, sorry. Barbara's saying hi from Louisville, Kentucky. Carol from Canada says, is in beautiful sunny, she's in Colombia, in the coffee growing area. All right. Hey, Kurt's coming in from Havana. Love the internet. Thanks for doing that, Kurt. Joyce saying, we got a hotel in New York through our timeshare for a good price. When we got to the hotel, we were told we need to pay a resort fee, which was not mentioned when we booked the hotel. The resort fee included water, fax machine. Who the hell uses a fax? Okay. Computer and Wi-Fi, which we did not use. Hotel says we've had to call the agency that booked us. Do you think we could get resort fee back if we call for non-use? Okay, here's the deal. I'm assuming you paid with a credit card. You dispute the bill then, right? You contracted a service you didn't need or want without your permission. It was not fully disclosed. They failed to disclose. What you're saying, if I'm reading this email correctly, Joy, is that they didn't disclose it when you made your reservation. They didn't disclose it when you checked in. It was only after that they told you what you were up against. And if that's the case, you have standing. You have some rights. Okay. Hello from Scotland, says Samantha. Patty's saying, history of the Biltmore indeed, and the Miami Biltmore. 2 different owners, 2 different hotels, which you're absolutely right. Leslie is saying, how is Avelo Airlines? You know what? They're fine. They have a limited route right now, but the routes that they're flying, they're serving communities that have been underserved and desperately need that service. So support them, please. Okay. Hey, Michael Luongo said, hi, never heard of that museum about breakups. Interesting. Yeah, the Museum of Failed Relationships. I just want to caution everybody, don't make it a date night. Adrian is saying hello from Huntington Beach, Surf City. Joseph saying, great to listen to you from Central Serengeti. Absolutely. I love that we're coming right now to Central Serengeti. Hello from Central, and here's one from Barb in Central PA, home of the Nittany Lions. Okay. How the Nittany Lions got to the Big Ten, I'll never know, but they're there. Linda's saying hi from New Jersey, going on a cruise to Greenland in August. Perfect time of the year. I love Greenland. And of course, if I had to guess, you'll go to Nuuk, N-U-U-K, and they're actually making vodka now from the glaciers. So let me know how that is. All right. Did you hear the story of the Delta flight? Yes, I did. I wasn't going to share it, but I will. You know, when you think about this, I'll get to it. In the last, 2 months, we talked about a plane that had to turn around because one guy had an excessive case, and I mean excessive case of diarrhea. All right, the hazmat team had to come in on that one. They had to come back to the airport. Second plane had to turn around because excessive farting. Can't make this up. And now the Delta flight that had to turn around because of maggots. In-flight amenity. Okay, thank you, Harriet and Jim, for sharing that. Okay, my good pal Raymond Bixon, aloha from New York City. Beautiful today. You got a little dusted with snow, and now I think it's a beautiful day. Doris is saying hello from Long Beach. Lynn's saying just got back from Cancun, mainly to visit Chichen Itza. The only thing we liked about Cancun was Cabo Park. Listen, Cancun, if you're not careful, it can be described as a bad Miami Beach. Can be, doesn't have to be. But you use Cancun as a hub and don't go to the beach, go inland, and you'll discover an amazing Mexico, right? Why do so many people think that the key to their success when they travel is to fight over beach chairs at a resort? Really? Next time you go to Cancun, do a tour inland. You'll be amazed. Okay. Melanie says, is it worth splurging on a balcony cabin on the QM2 going transatlantic from New York City to Southampton, or since there's nothing to look at other than the ocean? I love the ocean. Would money be better spent elsewhere? Okay, I'm going to tell you, and everybody watching me now, you please feel free to disagree with me. How much time do you actually spend in your cabin other than to sleep and shower? If you open up the cruise ship brochures, they'll make you believe you're entertaining the entire state of Rhode Island in your cabin, and everybody's toasting and everybody's clinking glasses. Stop it. You're there to sleep and shower and maybe watch a movie if you really want to. All you have to do to see the ocean and to enjoy the view and all the other amenities on the ship is open your cabin door. So balconies on cruise ships are highly overrated in most cases. Most of them, if you want to sit out in the balcony, you need a spatula to get out there and a spatula to get back in. So I'm a big fan, especially if you're doing a crossing, which you're going to do. Here's the deal. Inside middle cabin. It's the cheapest cabin on the ship. It's got the best center of gravity because it's lower and in the middle. I mean, look, here's the ship, right? Up balcony, rough seas, look where you're going. Look where the middle cabin's going. Not much. That's what you want to do. Inside middle cabin, sleep and shower there, open the door, and enjoy the rest of the ship. Right? That's all I'm saying. So I think I answered your question. Katrina's saying hello from Alabama. Okay. Patty's saying dogs should be placed in a designated area of the plane. Well, here's the problem. Remember the old days of the emotional support animals, those ESAs, where everybody had a pet peacock, snake, and rhino, thought they could fly because they were their emotional support animal? They got them in a little red vest, and the phony psychiatrist said you had to have the pig on board or you'd snap. Well, thankfully, we got rid of those. The people who are flying with pets today have to pay for them. They have to be able to be fit into a container, able to be fit under the seat in front of you. Sometimes that's a real challenge. And the airlines usually limit it to one animal per cabin, okay? So if the dog is bigger, it's got to be in a kennel in the belly of the plane, which creates other problems. You have to have proper documentation. In many cases, a signature from a veterinarian that your dog's been properly vaccinated. There's some liability issues there. You have temperature moratorium, right? In the summer months, above a certain degree, the airline won't accept your dog or any other animal simply because if you're changing planes, that animal left out on the tarmac could die or could die inside in the cargo hold. The same thing for the colder winter months where we are right now. The temperature drops below a certain degree, they're not going to take the pet either. Now, I know we think we have a sense of entitlement that dogs are members of our family, and boy, do I support that. I really do. I mean, I grew up with all the dogs. I miss not having a dog right now in a big way. But to be responsible as a pet owner, it's sometimes cruel and unusual punishment to travel your dog in the belly of a plane. Just please remember that. Okay. Hello from Chicagoland, going to New Zealand in November. Good time of the year. They're coming into their spring. My old pal Marvin Kupfer. He and I palled around for years at the Newsweek Bureau in Los Angeles. I love reading your Facebook posts, Marvin, and please let's stay together and stay in touch. Those days in the LA Bureau were wild. We had the best time working for the best magazine. Nice to see you online today. Ethan says, currently studying abroad in Bordeaux with Syracuse. Absolutely loving it so far. What's not to love? Okay. Harry's coming in from Puerto Vallarta. And, John is saying hello from Miami. So you came back to Miami, John. I hope to see you soon in a couple of weeks there. Okay. And Colleen says, you are correct. The Yucatan is a magical place, not just inland. Acamal on the coast is amazing. The ruins there are amazing. We did that on our show called The Royal Tour of Mexico with then President Felipe Calderon. That's where we shot it. Very nice. Patty Ford says, dogs on laps. No, can't do that. Can't do that. Okay, Peter's saying Tanzania Royal Tour. That was our show. I hope you got a chance to see it. It's still available. If you can't find it on PBS, you can find it on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. Okay, can I recommend this? Lorraine says, the best booking source for the perfect African safari, including a dining in the wild. Well, there are 54 countries in Africa. So we're going to have to narrow down, I'm going to have you do that for me, which country you'd like to do it in, then I can probably be more helpful, okay? Let's scroll back up again. Give me a second here. I'm going to go to some of the questions you've asked. And here we go. Ellen says, can I bring 6 months worth of medication to Europe? I'll be studying abroad and heard the maximum you can bring is 3 months. I'm going to give you a qualified yes. First of all, you need a letter from your doctor explaining why you need that amount, if somebody is going to ask you. Second of all, don't just get the prescription filled at your local CVS or Walgreens. Make sure you know what the generic name of the drug is. And make sure your doctor lists that drug by both its generic and brand name in the letter he or she gives you. Because a lot of countries don't understand, Ozempic, for lack of a better example this morning. Okay, letter from your doctor explaining what the drugs are, what they're for, the brand name and the generic name, and you should be okay. Okay. Okay, Heather says, I was on my first trip to Europe 1 month ago and hugely impressed by the city of Ljubljana. Are there any places similar? Yeah, there are. We love Slovenia. It's beautiful, it's tiny, it's precious, but so is Estonia, right? And Lithuania. And they're all in that region and they're all wonderful, right? Especially in May, June, July, August, and the magic month of September. Okay, let's keep going here. Okay. Hi, Peter. This is from Joseph. I'm considering the Wise debit card. What is the best debit card to get cash from ATMs internationally? Well, understand why you're going to use an ATM. There are a number of banks and financial institutions that will not kill you with ATM charges when you're not using one of their member banks. One of them might be Charles Schwab. One of them may be one of the issuing banks where you already have an account. You need to talk to them because if you maintain a certain balance, you're not going to get hit with ATM fees. And if you are, they'll rebate them to you. Because remember, those ATM machines can be vicious when it comes to transaction fees and commissions on exchange rates. My advice is you don't use the ATMs, and instead you go to local banks wherever you are, and you'll get the same exchange rate as the banks are getting for their stuff. Okay? That's the deal. That's what you do. You use that for the exchange rate, not the private ATM machines you see at bars or private institutions. Okay. George says, I have a 10-hour flight coming up and I can upgrade to Delta One from peasant class for less than $1,100. I'm considering it. Would you recommend it? Well, is that $1,100 one way or $1,100 round trip? And what was the fare that you paid to begin with? Anytime, this is my philosophy. I remember once I was going to do an interview in Paris, and the magazine sent me a ticket. And the ticket basically was $17,000. to go from Los Angeles to Paris on TWA. And I looked at this ticket and I said, it's not a ticket, it's a Toyota. And I took that ticket and I basically exchanged it for one coach round trip and 35 round trips between LA and New York. That was my value proposition. So I suffered for 10 hours going from LA to Paris, and then I was able to fly for like the next 2 years on what otherwise would have been just one ticket. So those are the metrics I use to determine how much am I going to pay for a ticket, or how much am I going to tolerate to pay for a ticket. So I know that I didn't give you a specific answer, but I gave you a specific philosophy. Okay, Katie says, do you think this whole Boeing fiasco has ultimately resulted in higher international ticket prices? I'm not seeing cheaper airfares that I expected to see. Well, first of all, there's another factor involved here. Have you been on a plane recently that hasn't been totally full? So as long as the planes are full, that's the law of supply and demand, right? Now, will there be higher international fares if those planes kept on getting grounded? Of course. Planes don't make money when they're on the ground. They only make money when they're in the air. And airlines have to amortize those leasing fees, whether the plane's in the air or on the ground. So yes, you probably will see higher airfares, but right now, the higher airfares that you're seeing are not as a result of the grounding of the 737 MAX 9, they're a result of increased demand. Every plane's full. The other day, I showed you this, I think, on the screen either last week or the week before. I was flying from Denver to New York. I'm one of those mega mileage guys, right? And I was trying to get an upgrade to first class on that Denver to New York flight. When I got to the gate, it was already full, no upgrades available. But how many people who had status like me were standing by for a seat that didn't exist in first class? 52 people. So the question that I ask is, if everybody has status, then nobody has status. And that's the inflection point we're in now, right now, when it comes to mileage programs and upgrades and the true value of how many miles you have and whether or not you can ever use them. So stay tuned on that, because we'll have more stories on that in the days and weeks ahead. International airfares are going to go up, but not as a direct result yet of that grounding. Okay, from Tara. I have heard that Air France is constantly inconsistent with weighing carry-ons. Do you think it just depends on your luck that day? You're right. It's not just Air France. Every airline is inconsistent with it. You've seen those baggage sizers at the gates? Every airline has a different baggage sizer. We even ran that video from EasyJet a couple of weeks ago of the guy whose bag just wouldn't fit in the sizer. Finally, he jammed it in so tight, he took the sizer on the plane with him. Yeah, it's the luck of the draw. It's the luck of the draw. The only hope you have is that the plane is already so overloaded with overhead compartment space being filled that they gate check your bag and they don't charge you for it, which is going to piss off all the other people who had to pay for their bags to be checked. It's just not a fair system. Okay, let's keep going here. I'm flying from BNA to JFK. However, then a layover, then JFK to London, and finally London, to KEF with American Airlines and their partnership with British Airways. Will my bags automatically be sent from plane to plane? The answer is yes, because American and British Airways are part of the One World Alliance, and they have an interline agreement, and they will check your bags all the way through. However, having said that, I'm a big fan of the Apple AirTags. I'm also a big fan of going to the gate at every departure point where you're checking in to get on the plane. You got the barcode on your bag tags, and you ask the gate agent, can you please check this to see that my bag was scanned and loaded on this plane? If they say I can't do that, they're lying. So ask somebody very nicely to do it for you, because you don't want to miss your bags. Okay. Diane says, do you usually book with Expedia or with the airline directly? I research online. I've told you this, guys, before so many times. Use the internet to research, then get on the phone and have a conversation. It can be with the airline directly, or a travel agent, or a travel provider, if it's a cruise line or a rental car company or a hotel. But don't just depend on this online experience. You're doing yourself a disservice, and in many cases, you're a victim waiting to happen. Now, if you look at travel just as nothing but a commodity, then fine. Then act like a commodity. Act like self-loading human cargo. Book online, never ask any questions. Stand in line and be abused. There you go. Okay. Now let's go to the photo of the week. Interesting photo of the week, because you got to look at it carefully. See all the reflections in the windows? So Tracy Kochani is the winner. And she says, we landed in Amsterdam at about 5 a.m. As we made our way through the airport, the light was fantastic. I love the juxtaposition of the buildings with the shadows of travelers. You know what? I think so too, Tracy. I like what you did. Congratulations on that shot. It is a piece of art. You had the light right, you had the reflection right, and it had everything you need in a photo. Love that. And if you think you have a photo that qualifies for the Travel of the Week, you know what to do. It's photo contest at petergreenberg.com. And if we agree with you, you get to join Tracy next week when we do this. A couple of housekeeping notes. I'm speaking tomorrow and Sunday at the Arizona Convention Center here in Phoenix at the Travel and Adventure Show. And then next week, if you happen to be in Washington, D.C., I'm at the Washington Convention Center speaking at the Travel and Adventure Show, followed by San Francisco, the Bay Area, Atlanta, and Dallas. We'll have more information on those shows coming up, but you can always find that information on our website, petergreenberg.com. Of course, we'll be coming to you this weekend from an interesting destination. I'm not going to tell you, you just got to listen in. But it's this Saturday, of course, from 10 in the morning till 1 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern Time. If you can't find a station in your market, not a problem. Just go to our website, petergreenberg.com, and hit the icon, and you'll listen to it live streamed at about 5 minutes after the hour. So I hope you get a chance to do that. We are now going to get ready here to do some more work here in Phoenix at the Biltmore. I want you guys to have a great weekend. We will see you next week from another location somewhere around the world, and it might surprise you. Remember, last week was Uganda. Where could it be next week? Somehow between Phoenix and Washington, D.C., I'll be joining you from another distant location, and I hope you'll join me. Have a great weekend, everybody. Travel safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.